Craig and Tim clips.
Hey, so topic of the day today, Tim. I wanted to bring up a topic that we talked about a couple episodes ago, and if you haven't watched that episode, it's right above Tim's head there. You can click on it and check it out about rejection therapy.
Which we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I just said that. If you're paying attention to me, you will hear me talk.
I'm just reiterating it.
Yeah, but I want to kind of piggyback on it because we heard a message this weekend on Sunday that I thought was a really good message about courage. And also rejection therapy has a lot to do with courage, with Drew Dudley's book as well. Have you read Drew Dudley's book yet?
I haven't read the book. I've been on YouTube. I've seen a bunch of his clips and what he talks about.
Yeah.
But I've not read the book yet. I will admit that.
Yeah, no problem. It's there's a lot of clips. I think it's great. But in the book, there's the end of chapter 9, I believe it is. He talks about 5 ways to embody courage on day 1, and what this is a way to and he says like every day is day 1, right? So these are 5 ways to embody courage at all times. Actively attempt to be rejected 3 times. That's the rejection therapy part of it. Sit down and consider what list you are using as your checklist for success in your life, and ask yourself if you wrote it yourself. So basically, if the checklist for success in your life, did you write it or is somebody else writing that checklist for you? Do something that requires 5 seconds of extraordinary courage, and that's going to tie into what Zach said on Sunday. Ask yourself where in my life I am settling. So tell a friend and ask them to hold you accountable to that. And then speak out in support of someone with an unpopular opinion that you think is right. So a lot of the times I speak out on your behalf because a lot of your opinions are unpopular. But I'm like, you know what? Tim has a good opinion.
You're my PR guy.
I will publicly relate you to everybody else. So I embody a lot of those things on a regular basis hanging out with you. But the one that really got me was do something that requires 5 seconds of extraordinary courage. So Zach, in his message, he talked about offering his wife to purchase anything at the mall for her. Well, let's just play the clip.
And shows us what to do. But we have to be obedient in that, right? We have to see that and feel it and go, okay, I guess I got to do that. That means when you're walking down the mall, sometimes you might have this feeling inside of you that goes, there's a guy sitting over there by himself. I feel like I should go sit with him. Let me tell you, go sit with him if you feel that. If you have this gut feeling that goes, I should go out and reach out and just talk. You're not going to be weird, okay? You can just continually step into what God has for you and go, I can do this. I can just lead with, hey. I can lead with, how are you doing? I just saw you sitting here alone, and I just figured I just want to see how you're doing. They might go, no, man, like, give me some space. And then you can walk away. Can you handle rejection? Yes. I hope so. Can you respond to rejection and respect that and walk away? That's another thing that happens too. I always laugh because me and Jess my wife were walking through the mall the other day, and I joked with her and I just said, because we were shopping and I was like, oh, I just love to her to go on a shopping spree and buy whatever. And I made a joke to her and I was just like, hey, I will let you buy whatever you want, okay? Anything in this mall, if you go up to someone, I said, and pretend like they're a long-lost friend that you haven't seen in 20 years. And I knew this full well that I wouldn't be spending money that day because I knew that was like a big step out of comfort zone for all of us, right? And she's like, oh, I can't do that right now. But I know, that's fair. It was just so funny because we're laughing, walking through the mall, going, geez, can you imagine going up to a complete stranger, pretending like they're a long-lost friend from 20 years ago, and them just standing there, probably not reciprocating anything, and just standing there with just like their bug eyes going, what is going on in this mall today?
So right after this message, Tim texts me and he goes, you would have done that. And I said, for somebody to buy me anything that I want in the mall, I would have done it. And then Tim replied with, no, you would have done it for free. And it's true. It's 100% true. I honestly would have introduced myself to somebody, pretended I was their long lost friend, and I would have had fun with it.
And I think you're absolutely right with that. Just backtracking as far as Pastor Zach, who was actually just named the senior pastor of our
Yeah,
church.
he's our new senior pastor.
A week before the taping of the show, which is a Wednesday. So it's quite exciting for that. And we were both there on Sunday when he spoke the message, and he talked about 15 seconds of courage. And there's a clip from a movie called We Bought a Zoo, where they talk about 20 seconds of courage. And basically the idea...
So we've gone from 5 seconds to 15 seconds to 20 seconds.
Zach actually said
courage.
15. I just listened to it today.
Okay.
Anyway, so 20 seconds. Just the idea is your life can be changed when you overcome a certain amount of fear and do something that you're uncomfortable with doing, either quitting a job, asking that girl out on a date. That your life can be changed with just a little bit of courage. That's from a movie called We Bought a Zoo with Scarlett Johansson and Matt Damon. But talking about the example of you doing something like going up to a complete stranger and pretending that you were their long lost friend is just something that is out of our comfort zones. Like, well, I don't know them, right? They might think I'm strange. These things that we don't want to have people see us in certain ways, right?
You don't want to be odd.
And what I said was you would do it and without any monetary amounts going your way. But I asked you, would you have done this? The question I had, would you have done this 5 years ago? And I think the answer is no, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, it would have been tougher 5 years ago.
So my question is, what changed from 5 years ago when you wouldn't have been comfortable and you probably would have walked away till now when you would?
Well, and it kind of goes to why we do these segments. Right. So we do these topics of the day on a regular basis to kind of like point out these things that could better people's lives, essentially, right? So like bringing up the rejection therapy, bringing up the 5 seconds of courage, bringing up fasting, all these types of things can change your life, right? I'm not saying it's going to change it dramatically, but if you do these things at an early age, like let's say when you're 20, and you set a precedent for yourself, and you set what's it called, like a recurring, what do they call that? Like muscle memory, essentially, right? So you're fasting when you're young.
You're creating patterns of behavior.
You're creating your pattern of behavior. What behavior you create when you're younger, is easier to maintain than creating it when you're older.
Right.
So, and they say, what do they say? You have to do something like a certain amount of times in order for it to become a behavior, and then you have to do it a certain amount of times in order to become something that's a permanent behavior.
Right.
Right. So, the reason why I bring these topics up with us is to A, teach the listener something new, and to B, be something that, like, to show an example of something that I've learned that has changed something that I do. Right. So yeah, like walk up to that person that you thought you could never walk up to.
Right.
But
what was the event that made you decide to change your patterns of behavior?
I always read books and I always want to learn something new. There was never an event, I don't believe. Is there? Did I tell you there was an event?
I thought there was.
But for me, seeing speakers speak and listening to certain books has helped me to learn to live life differently.
Right.
And to try them out, right? I try out a lot of different things. We're going to go through a ton of different topics that have changed the way I do things. But for you, what like, is there an event that changed the way you do things?
Over the last, I want to say 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm 47 years old.
Yeah.
And
you say that every episode.
I still the same.
The demographic.
In February, I'll be 48, but until then, I'm going to say I'm 47 years old. And just the last couple of years, just a couple, people have passed away that were important to me.
Okay.
And I'm getting a realization that life is too short.
Yeah.
Life is too short not to take advantage of those opportunities to give somebody a hug.
Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable giving hugs before. And I'm purposely just trying to go the extra mile and just give people a hug. Just something small like that. Like,
the problem is when you hug too low.
Yeah.
you know? So it's kind of awkward.
No, it's not.
You got to get around one around the shoulder, one around the waist.
Yeah.
But do the opposite of the other person. When you hug, you kind of hug too low.
No, I don't hug too low. But saying a kind word to somebody,
Yeah.
giving encouragement, doing something you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Just doing the things that really like we would be in some place that I don't live, let's say, and I'd be worried about what some people are going to think. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to see them in a day. What is the concern here?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, that can be in the negative too, right? When you do something that's out of your comfort zone in a negative way, it's called impulsive. And so I'm talking about positive things where I'm trying to be purposeful in how I'm behaving because I only have one life to live.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to
You don't want to have any
purposely make those
regrets.
changes. Yeah. So
Sorry, I cut you off there.
yeah, it's okay. You're always interrupting. So and you know, our pastor that passed away is one of the people that really impacted me. And
Yeah.
my father-in-law who just passed away this past year as well, also the same thing. So I'm really taking those things into consideration, and I'm trying to purposely change how I, you know, behave.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a bad guy, but everyone has something they can improve.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be a little bit better every day, 1%. And sometimes I fail, but that's kind of where I'm coming from as far as these kinds of things.
I think some of the things you fail at is when you hate.
Right.
I think hate is a powerful drug.
I don't feel bad about Starbucks haters. All those
No.
Starbucks haters.
You
They
know
drive
that,
me insane.
hate is the path to the dark side.
That's why I asked if it was inappropriate. And you clarified.
Yeah, it's the path to the dark
So
side.
that's my answer. And I thought it was a fantastic message as well.
Do you know who says that?
Who's that?
Yoda.
I'm not a Star Wars guy. I'm a Trekkie. I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Oh, you're wrong then.
No, I love Captain Kirk, William Shatner. Oh,
Still wrong.
and the first one's better than the Next Generation. Come on, I'm sorry.
Like, I understand the Star Trek thing,
Yeah.
but you can't say Star Trek's better than Star Wars.
Yeah, it is because that's fact. If you were right, I would agree with you.
So I got a question based on all that stuff.
Yeah.
What are you going to do this week that's going to be 15 seconds of courage?
What am I going to do this particular week?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know yet.
So next week,
Yeah.
when we come back
Yeah.
in the opening,
Yeah.
you're going to tell us
What
you
I'm
did
going to do is
that required courage.
so next week I'm going to tell you what I did. I will look for opportunities
Yep.
that require courage.
Yep.
And I will hopefully you'll forget about the segment. No, I'm going to try.
So-
What about are you going to do the same?
I'm going to do the same. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, like, a few of the questions are: what did I try today that I didn't think would work, but I did it anyway?
Right.
What did I do today that scared me? And I've given you all these notes too. What did I do today that I wanted to avoid?
Yep.
What did I do today that I'm proud of myself for trying?
Yep.
So, like, they all go together. Like, you could have been scared of something that you're proud of trying that you avoided. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So these are all like questions that you can ask yourself when you're facing a situation that you're avoiding.
Yep.
Do it and see what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen?
So
So I'm not saying like jump off a 15-story building. And
that
see
would
if
be
you-
an example of a negative,
Yeah.
impulsive.
That's a different.
Yeah.
Like let's be honest.
Yeah. By the way, I was listening to a message very similar to Zach's on FOMO,
Okay.
and he went through different things that FOMO could stand for, and the first was fear of missing out, which
Yeah.
we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But the other one was fear of meeting opposition.
Oh, okay.
And he had like 6 or 7 of what FOMO could stand for. Fear of meeting opposition, and he says that's why people don't do the things that they want to do because they are fear of somebody thinking worse of them, acting negatively towards them, and that's why they're fearful. It's other people that we're worried about. So I just thought of that when you said that. So
Interesting.
yeah,
So,
basically the question is what would you do if you thought you couldn't fail? What would you try?
So I want the viewers to put into the comments and on Instagram and everywhere else. I want the viewers to put in the comments of what you did this week that required courage, and if it turned out great, turned out negative, or if it actually made a difference in your life.
And as what you said, I remember you said a couple of weeks ago that even when it doesn't turn out the way you think it is, it's still positive, right?
Yeah, it actually could turn out better than what you thought you would get out of it.
Right. And
So-
and you create for yourself a pattern that you'll continue to do the things,
Yep.
even if it doesn't work out. Because, like, honestly, it doesn't always work out the way you want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.